what I really want to talk about in this video is the concept of one person's hell being somebody else's heaven, and spirit, God, whatever you like to call it, had a truly impactful, beautiful lesson for me yesterday. I have had an incredibly difficult couple of weeks for myself, okay? Trying and difficult and overwhelming in my world. But being in the position that I'm at, I always have to remain stoic, find a solution, be that calm equilibrium within the storm, just due to the fact that I'm at the helm of the ship, essentially. And, another dynamic that kind of has layered complexity for my own life is the fact that I don't have family around. I don't have that aunt or that uncle or that father. And, with my mother being away, I have me, myself, and I, really. And so I was kind of unpacking everything. Yesterday, my energy came to an absolute head. I was just frustrated. I was angry at the world. I was angry at everything. And I was shown such a beautiful lesson. And so I wanted to share it. Long story short, everything that could go wrong, was going wrong in the last couple of weeks. And particularly yesterday, it was just like one thing after another. We've all had those days where, you bump your knee, you can't find your keys, you're tired, you pulled your back out, and then you get, into the routine of the things that you're trying to accomplish. And it's just like the universe keeps putting one thing after another in front of you. One of the things was, the Uber driver, the seatbelts didn't work on the way to the airport, and a good friend of mine just got hit in an Uber, and I'm not going to go into an Uber without seatbelts, and just running late for the flight. And then I get there and everything with the reservation is wrong, and on and on. I don't have to get into that, but essentially I was at my breaking point. I completely had a meltdown, had an emotional meltdown, and pretty much cried my eyes out on the plane for 2 hours, in silence. Now, here's where the story gets kind of interesting. On the way in the dark from the airport, I see this little motion off to the side of the road. And normally I wouldn't pay attention to something like that. But just something inside my intuition, inside my soul, called me back and said, put the vehicle in reverse. This is something that you have to see. And I mean, in the United States, in the middle of the night, you normally don't go and pull off on the side of the road and, start checking things in the bushes. And turns out it was an older gentleman who had his legs amputated. So obviously probably a veteran of war. And his motorized wheelchair had become stuck in the brush and the bushes and the large rocks. So we were able to help him get out. And it was very evident to me that he was having the same kind of day I was, like attracts like. And so I could see all of these elements of, his travels on his motorized wheelchair. He had, thrown his backpack. He was, kind of halfway in the seat, trying to figure out how to get out of this situation. It was evident that he had to go to the bathroom. He's stuck in a wheelchair. Just all of these heavily frustrating elements for that individual. And we helped dislodge him. We got him all of his stuff, picked up all of his stuff. But it was such a beautiful moment for me. It was like God calling to me and saying, like, you know, you have this energy of frustration, you're overwhelmed, but look at what you have. Look at the grace you've been given. Look at how beautiful your life is. And through this individual stalling along his travels, you know, along the brush, I was taught this beautiful lesson. And as well, I was texting with a friend this morning, a little bit frustrated in the morning again, because it's like, oh, there's all of these things to do. You know, there's light covers to change, there's TVs to put up, there's, you know, overwhelming amounts of stuff. And then I'm texting her this story, and my like tears filled my eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, I listened to the message from the universe last night, but I was reminded again this morning, I need to get out of that energy of feeling frustrated. And the message that I really took home from this is that another person's, or your hell, or whatever you're making your own hell to be, is another person's heaven. You know, you can be in a coffee shop looking at a family and, you know, be a single person that's never had kids, and to you, that's heaven. That's everything you could ever want. And yet that mother could be staring back at you, you know, working away in your corporate situation, thinking, oh, I just want a moment away from my kids. You know, I just want peace. I just want to be in my own element. And that's the thing, is that sometimes we don't realize that we are exactly where we need to be. And the universe is constantly teaching us and guiding us and pushing us towards whatever that highest expression for ourselves is, based on where we're calibrating right now. And so that's not to say that, like, yes, there is a differentiation between the lives of yourself and others. You're always going to see that there's a different outcropping of how somebody's existence unfolds. But it's what they need. It's where they need to be in terms of their growth, their lessons, their learning. And I think, or in fact, I know that is so closely attuned to what faith is. Having that peace within yourself, that whatever you are experiencing is exactly what you are supposed to be experiencing right now. It's for you. Everything is carefully orchestrated. I read a lot, you know, and one of the things that one of my favorite authors, Neville Goddard, talks about the fact that God is your own beautiful imagination, which to some degree I believe this, but I want to add a layer to this, that God works through you and through all others at all times, meaning you join with the Father, or you join with Spirit, and together you are experiencing the dream or the creation of reality. And you only ever get what you put in. You only ever experience that which you are. What you vibrate at is what you're going to attract. Like attracts like. You know, I was having this crazy, frustrating day. I was basically having this temper tantrum where I was, you know, throwing all my stuff, not necessarily complete. Well, I did throw something. But then just like that, I run into this other individual who kind of feels like they're at their wit's end. And in that moment, that beautiful synchronicity of complete understanding washed over. So this understanding that I've created my life. I've taken the path I've taken. I like hard work. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it's tiring. Sometimes it feels like the world is against you when you're an entrepreneur. But there's an element of that struggle, of that uphill battle that I enjoy deeply. And I've created my own existence, just like every other person has created their own existence. And sometimes we create things that we end up not loving every piece of it, but that's connected back to discernment. You know, we try something, we put it on for size. We say, does this fit our soul? Does this situation, does this person, does this aspect of beingness really embody our core soul essence? And sometimes that answer is no. And that's where we make a shift, or we make adjustments, or we become a better version of ourselves. And I think, actually, no, it has a lot to do with gratitude. When I start to come back around to this energy of deep gratitude, you know, and all the teachers will say this, but that's when the magic starts to happen in a way that feels magical. I mean, that's the best way to put it. But don't discount the magic in the other end of the spectrum. I mean, we're living in a system of duality, and even in the intense frustration and the raw emotions and all of the spaces in between, it's just as magical, it's just as transformative. And probably for the first time ever in my life, yesterday I just accepted my emotions where they were at. I just accepted that I have emotions, that I feel, that I'm capable of this broad range of everything, and that is human, and that is part of the journey. And it's okay. It's actually totally okay to get mad. It's actually totally okay to be in complete and utter despair and look at that in all of its messiness and pick yourself up and, you know, do it again the next day. Okay, I'm going to sign off on this video. Got a lot to do, but I just wanted to quickly share that.